I just got back from a very good meeting, a good starting point. The Year of Altruism held a meeting at the Furman University in connection with the Furman University's Poverty Studies Division called A Conversation with Homelessness. And the goal of this meeting was to begin to identify long-term solutions for the homeless in the Upstate. And it was well attended. There was approximately 200, a little over 200 individuals who showed up to be involved in this. And it wasn't that this was the answers, we have all the answers, but it was as the beginning of a conversation. There were representatives of all kinds of groups and organizations who actively and daily and for decades have worked and helped the homeless. Many people rise up from homelessness to live independent and satisfied lives. Groups like Miracle Hill, Salvation Army, GAIN, Houses of Hope, Habitat for Humanity, just a whole list, and the list goes on. Catholic Charities, and I can't name them all. And it was good to see all of those folks there because they have the experience of actually helping. There were also some folks there who had been homeless. And through sometimes some of these very agencies, charities, had risen above that and out of homelessness to independence and a satisfied, refreshing life. And they were reaching back to help bring someone else up. And there were some there who were still struggling with homelessness. It was an interesting meeting. It wasn't lectures or whatever. There was a couple opening remarks by Dr. Gandolfo of the Furman's Poverty Studies Division and Mike Chesser of the Upstate Housing Coalition. And they opened up, they had Dr. Gandolfo had a poll that he wanted to take about how well we understood the homeless situation in the Greenville area, like what percentage of homeless people are drug and alcohol addicts. Was it the majority? And turns out it's about 30%. But it was a little short poll to gauge where we were. He gave some remarks. Then Mark Chesser gave some remarks. And then each of us, we were all seated at tables that housed about 10 people. And the idea was we were all going to talk about ideas we had or questions or asking questions and sharing ideas, putting them on paper, what we thought would be a good idea, what we were wondering about. And at the end of the evening, the Year of Altruism folks and Furman Poverty Studies would gather that all up. And they're going to go through them, look at the ideas, collate them, and get them back out to us and others as a way to say, where do we go from here? We started the conversation tonight. Let's continue, because this is something that these folks are passionate about, helping our neighbors. And I think anyone who listens to Another Voice with Eric and Friends knows that's what we're also about helping our neighbors, giving a hand up. It was very interesting. I wasn't privy to what was going on in all the other tables. I talked to some people afterwards. There were a couple things that stuck out to me, both from our group and in other groups. First, there was a strong emphasis on bringing and continuing to bring the faith community into this effort for long-term solutions. One of the discussions at our table was about a program or an idea to help folks who have gone through the crisis phase. They're homeless, they're addicts, they are mentally ill, they have no job. Gone through that phase, gone through the transitional phase where they were helped to get transitional housing, to get job training, to get health care, to get rehab, and they were now moving into their own place. And this organization, backed by the Buncombe Street Methodist Church and other groups, wanted to bring actually people, just average folks, to come out and to mentor individuals in this situation, where they're on their own. Because what happens often is someone goes through that process and they get on their own, and then they have little support because the support you and I appreciate and sometimes don't realize is there when we have a flat tire or a car goes bad or a babysitter gets sick or we get sick or there's a child that's and we have a crisis. We have a network, most of us do, that can help. We don't even think about it, but it's there. But for a lot of folks who have been through that transitional situation, when they go back on their own, that structure is weak at best or not there at all. So this group wants to help have 4 or 5 mentors for this one individual who is now on his own, to love them, to be there to help them, and to be that network that we all enjoy. And this was being done through the faith community. And it could go beyond that. It doesn't have to be faith community. But what I found interesting was that throughout the evening and through the different discussions, bringing the faith community in was a very big part of this. Another aspect was the mentorship, the relationship. Often we want to just simply donate money, drop off a blanket, and that's it. And that is helpful. But for a true way to help someone who's down and bring them all the way back to an independent and satisfying lifetime, relationships and mentoring, that you're going to spend your time working and helping this person make that transition. And that was a big factor involved in all these discussions. Another one was prevention, in this sense. Trying to find ways to help folks not fall into a homeless situation, a poverty situation. Whether that was helping with job training, whether that was offering parenting skills, a lot of that was mentioned. And one thing that I talked about and we talked about at our table was a call out to the business community, particularly local and small business, to find ways to help your employees. A stable employee, an employee who is not in crisis, is a better employee, and your business benefits. And is there a way addressing wages, addressing flexibility, help with the child care? Again, I'm not saying you have to do this, but seeing if there's a way that we can bring the business community in to prevent the homeless situation. So those were a couple of the themes that ran through the discussions that I heard this evening. And this is by no means an end. It was a beginning of the conversation. I did mention, and I am going to talk to the folks that were involved in this, that it was great to have this conversation with the providers, the people who go out there and help on a regular basis and who have the experience with it. But what I would love to also see was to have a meeting like this, a conversation with homelessness that was full of business owners and leaders and community people and employees, neighbors, average folks. For me, what I am striving to figure out is how to motivate people who aren't directly affected by homelessness into helping lend a hand to their fellow man. Whether that's a business owner, whether that's the soccer mom, whether that's the blue-collar worker. We are a community, and we all are better as a community if we all can work together. I think the expression about all boats, raising the top in our society raises all boats because it raises the level. Economically, I'm not sure how that works, but if we work together and understand that the homeless is not a monolithic group, it's not a bunch of dirty drunks. There's multiple issues. Addiction is one of them. Mental illness is one of them. Poor choices, bad parenting, criminal records. There's a lot of things, but just losing work, being laid off, and low skilled. I would like to see us all address this issue. But I was very pleased with this meeting as a stepping point, a starting point, to say, let's look at how we can help bring people out of the darkness into the light. How we can provide real hope. Not platitudes, not ideas, but how does this person that is our neighbor, or was our neighbor, or will be our neighbor, how do we bring them back to where we are and embrace each other? All right, we're definitely going to be talking to some of the folks that were involved over the coming weeks on Another Voice with Eric and Friends. We have an interesting guest on this coming Monday's show that has something to do with providing the dignity of being able to eat out to some very, very interesting people. All right, that'll be on canIGetAWordIn.com. You can also go to Facebook at canIGetAWordIn.com and find us there. Go to YouTube at Be Another Voice or Twitter at Be Another Voice. Find us there. Tell us what you think. Give us your ideas, both things you think would be helpful in addressing homelessness and things what we talked about here. This is a long-term goal, and for this year, Another Voice is going to be focusing on homelessness and hunger in many ways. Until we meet again, get out in your community and make a difference.